Hello there, this is Pixel. I'm gonna say it's been some time, but yet again, this is probably the normal upload schedule for a TMC player. You know, just spend like 4 months not uploading, then decide to upload something pretty random. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Been playing quite a few older versions, and we're in 1.7 now. This is a roof design, a 60 villager roof design for the Auxo Iron Farm Moy, which should be, if this even works out, should be coming out soon. Not using this one. We actually decided on a different roof because this was only 60 villages. However, I did want to share this one because this one was pretty cool, and I used some features in it that I thought were really, really nice. The main thing about this version is that shit is pretty laggy. Dust is pretty laggy, and to reduce that, we all put it on glass because one of the second checks, besides checking, so when dust is updated in 1.7, I think this goes up to about 1.10, however, I cannot confirm. If we've got a piece of dust over here, it will first check these 4 blocks over here, then it will check the block it's powering. However, if that block is glass, it will only check these blocks around it. So there's no need for any extraterrestrial bullshit or whatnot. And it reduces the checks by quite a bit. I'm just using like redirection, mainly because I just want to try and see if we can reduce the lag, because when this thing runs, does get quite laggy, and the fact that we're running this with almost 1.2k villages, not this one specifically, the actual farm with 1.2k villages, even though they're unloaded, they still take up the memory, and right now we're having to deal with a memory leak bug, which we don't know where it's coming from, but essentially we can't even run the farm for more than 2 hours. The memory just fills up to about like 2.3 gigabytes, and then the server will crash. Single player, it's not as bad, but it's still quite annoying. The main things about this roof is that, first of all, it's extremely clean, but we're also using diagonal villages here. So when we unlock, let's just get some glass here to use for the demonstration. So when we unlock this village over here, what we're doing is that we're triangulating it with this village over here on the diagonal. If we continue over here, we will find that the village center ends up being around in the middle over here. So what that means is that if we make all the villages and we keep crossing these diagonals, so in the second layer, that one over there will link to this one over here, and then the third row, this one over here will link to that one over there, and so forth. But what it does create is it creates these diagonal lines, which means that we can crisscross them all over a central point. So the central point actually sits over here, but because of the door imbalance, so because it's 21, it's an odd number, we can't. So in this one, I think because I cloned it, but in the actual one, you actually take out all of these doors over here, because it's 369, 369 over here at the bottom, and then we go to 1821 over here. So that's the imbalance. There's more doors on that side than there are on this side. And that causes the village center to shift a little bit. And when we mean by it shifting, it moves the 16 by 6 by 6 block for which shit can spawn in around. Now, moving on to the actual thing, what we're doing is that instead of using dispensers, which would technically be less laggy, however, if the server crashes or if the farmer gets unloaded somehow, that is way too much work for anybody to put in. There's no feasible way, because let's say that it only gets up to this mark over here. If we pulse this line, theoretically, undoing it, it's just going to switch. So these ones will be on, and then these ones will be off now, and it thinks the whole line is off, even though it only got halfway. So dispensers, it's not practical as well. The way this works as well is that we using a single line over here. I just like to do it because it looks very clean. But essentially, when we pulse this, it will give a double pulse to this, essentially now unlocking this line. So the dispenser retracts, it waits for a double signal, it unlocks the system over here. So now we are getting a feed into this. So now every single pulse we get, we should be getting a village closed. So the light's going through, it is causing a change in the light. So in this case, it'll be like this. Well, we'll use these villages here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then so on and so forth. So that's how it creates the imbalance in the light, creating the villages. And yet again, you can actually see it on the diagonals over here. So if we just go like this, so the cheat engine is a bit too fast. So if we single pulse it over here, you'll notice that it doesn't unlock. You have to double pulse it in order for it to unlock. So we double pulse it now. So now it should be unlocked. So there, now we can feed the pulses through. Now, these pulses will not be going as fast. So to remove a village takes 120 approximately, because we have a random between 96 to 126 game ticks for a village to be checked and all of that, plus the fact that it takes approximately 1 minute and 2 seconds for a village to be closed. So in this case, on this door, that is now a village. However, when I break this block and the lights now on either side are the same, this village will still exist here, saying that there is a villager over here, of course. Of course, there isn't any villagers here, but that is the general theory of it. Of course, now when we close it, when the farm will shut down, it will close all of the lines. Relogging on this thing actually doesn't break it. I've constantly tested it. I've got tons of backups. I've had crashes while this thing was being tested, all of that. If we build a very quick clock very quick, we actually check this out. So what we're going to see now is it running. This is not a good test because it is using, just do this to make sure we don't pulse anything. Okay, so now if we notice here that because nothing is coming through here, because we can actually increase the delay on this. There we go. So this thing won't be unlocked now because it's just regular pulsing, all of that. If we just stop this for a second and we unlock it. Okay, now I can see it running. So this is an unrealistic speed. However, it does help us a bit. If we notice here, we are only pulsing each segment. So traditionally in quite a few designs, I know in Flowlands it was extremely laggy, mainly because they at the time they didn't know that running dust on top of solid blocks actually is quite laggy. But even for the client, it doesn't really show. However, you can use Cheat Engine to see the time it takes for variables to certain variables to change, and then you can set a baseline and change those around. In this case, you notice that we're only pulsing this. So I've got a Cheat Engine script right now that I can speed up the game. So now what we do now is that we are pulsing the second slice because this slice is finished now. All these doors have been made. All of these doors have been made, and now we're going through. So you can actually see which side gets pulsed. So as soon as that one's done, now this slice gets pulsed. Move it along, move it along. And there we go. Move into that one. And then when it's fully locked, what will usually happen is that you usually actually have a locking system over here, which you run a redstone line and you lock this, so no more input pulses unless this line gets broken. So you'll actually have about a comparison somewhere over here. Of course, you'd have to line it up with your main circuitry, but that is the general concept of the store. I know it's not going to be a great interest to everybody, but for the people who are interested in these types of versions and all of that, we can join the Auxo Discord. I have been constantly posting updates on this farm and all of that. But yeah, I think I should just very quickly mention, lastly, if you do intend to use this, what you will need to do is something called randomized bullshit. So what you need to do is you'll need to have, if the farm is in this direction, so wait, no, it's going to be in this direction actually. You have your central spawning pad, or your central safe chunk, which is where you'll keep your circuitry and you'll sit while you stack the villagers, and then you'll load the villagers for a bit so they get loaded into memory, and then you'll unload them again. You'll never need to load them again. if you do intend, what you will need to do is you will either need to put a villager in there with some sort of door system that will open up, or what you'll need to do is you'll need to take it from around about here, and you'll need to push a villager up at around about, yeah, the villager will need to sit around about here when it's pushed up, and you'll need to create a village on this side and exactly the same on this side. And then what you'll need to do is that when you push the village up in order that, you'll need to wait 120. I just do 126 game ticks because it is the highest number, the highest possibility of outruling all other causes. And you'll need to you have your distributor in the middle over here, which will be where your village gets stacked. And now, you must look at the bucket list also as well. I think Floden talks about it as well. Earth Computer has an okay village, okay vid on it. But you'll have something like this, where you will open these doors, you'll push another villager up, and what you'll do is that the bucket list will say, okay, I want the newest village created. It's first in, first out. So the first into the bucket gets the first taken out. So this village will have to be spread around here, especially for these villages over here. So this is why we're not using this roof specifically, was because my distributor didn't reach these areas. So you would have this diagonal line over here where villages just won't be made, and we didn't understand why until I looked at it properly. But if you spread the village out using those the doors over there, another door over there, and you keep two villages, one over there, and then one in the center over there, and then you'll only need one over there because the center one shares both of them, then you'll be absolutely fine. Otherwise, this you can use this for whatever. I don't think I'm going to include a world download. I mean, you can literally copy and paste this. It's not terribly hard to. The redstone, you can literally see from the video. Plus, I don't think anybody's going to build this. I have a quick squiz over it. You can see where I've used like the dust on top of the glass and all of that. But otherwise, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. I'll put the Auxo link in the description. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. See you.